Hobbit Fiddling, an interview with Samantha Gillogly on Celt Father Music and Travel. Greetings, this is the Celt Father, and today I have an interview with Samantha Gillogly, who is a violinist and fiddler and geek from Massachusetts. She's joined me at ALEP for 3 Hobbit gatherings thus far in Kentucky, and last year we got to sit down and chat for a little bit, and I did a great interview with her. Before we get to that, I want to let you know a little bit of news. I'm performing this Thursday, February 8th at 8 p.m. Central on Concert Window. Yes, I will be back on Concert Window. The show is, once again, pay what you want, and your tips will be graciously accepted. Follow me at concertwindow.com/Marc Gunn Music if you want to watch this show, and tell a friend. That would be awesome. I added several new items to my Bandcamp store. You'll find a Celtic Love sticker, a new Irish and Celtic Music podcast sticker, and 2 new cat albums. And this is the best place to buy my music and merch directly from me. And you can find a link in the show notes. And if you haven't done so yet, you can also follow me on Spotify. I'm making the scary and bold switch to streaming music, so I need followers and I need folks telling others. This is a great way to get to know my music, and there's 20 albums, so... Oh, and if you have a playlist of your own, why not add one of my songs to it? All right, let's get on with this interview with Samantha Gillogly. Talking with Samantha Gillogly, fiddler and a violinist extraordinaire, and this is the Celt Father, Marc Gunn, and we're going to have a little bit of interview here. So I wanted to talk to you about, first off, so we're at a long-expected party, ALEP 4.
Yes, can't believe it's number 4
I know. Here in Shakertown, Kentucky, where the Shire has risen from the mist once again, much like Brigadoon.
Yes.
And we've been playing music for the past 3 days. I'm lost track of my time.
I lose all sense of time in here. It's like another world.
But I thought I'd start by asking you how you came across Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
So let's see. I started reading The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings when I was 13. The books were always in our house. My dad was a big fan of them, but I just had never really had the inclination to go read them until the films were due to be released. And I thought, these looked really intriguing, and I wanted to kind of know the story first before going in to see the movie. I've kind of always been that way. I want to read the book first. So I just thought, give it a try. And then I just got completely absorbed in reading The Hobbit, just so immersed in this world that Tolkien had built. And I just thought, I got to read the trilogy now. Yeah, that was like, Lord of the Rings, along with Harry Potter, was like really a formative book, I think.
What was it that really struck you?
I think just the realness of it, just the texture of the world and the people in it, and you could really just see yourself existing in this universe that was created. Yeah, I think just how immersive it was.
Is there a character that really you related to, or that really stood out, or a scene, if not a character?
Gosh, I think there's a little bit of all the characters in all of us, but probably, I guess, Samwise Gamgee is probably the most relatable. We really see a lot of the story from his perspective, and I think just what a loyal and supportive friend he is. He's like somebody you really would, want by your side.
Yeah, you definitely want him by your side.
It doesn't hurt that, we have more or less the same name, So.
True. Oh, yeah. Didn't think about that. That's awesome. Now, you've been coming with me to ALEP for a long time now.
Yeah,
this is
our third
one,
ALEP together, yeah.
Yeah, so what has been your favorite thing here at ALEP?
I think my favorite thing is still the after-hours nights down in the Dancing Pony, or I think we're the Green Dragon.
Yeah, they keep changing it.
Yeah, it just, again, with that whole kind of immersiveness, it really feels like, when you walk down those stone steps, like you're really walking into a pub in Bree or the Shire, and just hearing, music floating across the grounds, and staying up late at night, singing songs with elves and playing kazoos with elves, which seems to happen more often than not. But yeah, just that sort of very free-flowing communal music-making type environment, which, surprisingly, I mean, as a professional musician, I actually don't get that experience very often, that just very casual kind of music making in a social setting. So it's really nice to kind of come home to that.
Where it's a bit of a jam band.
Yeah, exactly.
Feel. Yeah, I don't get that much either. So, which is one of the things I absolutely love about this, is going down there and having, as the Irish say, a little crack,
Yep.
playing some tunes, and a lot of it, of course, is traditional Irish tunes or whatnot. But you also have do a little bit of composition as well, right?
I do. Yeah, I do a bit of tune writing and arranging.
I can think of at least two that were written for Don't Go Drinking with Hobbit CD,
Prancing Pony and
the Shire Polkas.
Shire Polkas, yeah.
Do you do other tune writing?
Well, as it's funny you ask that. Yes, I do. I mean, Celtic music is really big part of what I do, but I'm classically trained as well. Did many years of conservatory, and I also have a lot of interest in other, not to put too broad of a label on it, but world music, quote unquote, especially Middle Eastern and Balkan, Mediterranean kind of gypsy music.
Where'd you go to school again?
I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Right.
It's Berklee with 2 E's, not to be confused with UC Berkeley.
Right. Okay. And you finished up there, when was that? That was in...
That was in 2011, actually. It was just about 6 months before, or 5 months before my first ALEP was when I graduated.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. And now you're making a living as a musician?
I am, yes.
And in New York, is that right?
In New York City, yep.
That must be tough.
I couldn't have picked a better or worse environment to freelance in, but I mean it's definitely a great place to just be surrounded by the arts and creativity. But on the other hand, there's an awful lot of competition, so you kind of have to really find ways to carve out a niche.
And how are you doing that?
I'm kind of doing what I think a lot of creative freelancers do, which is just you sort of build a career piecemeal from different elements of what you do. So in my case, I freelance solo, I do chamber music, I play for a lot of weddings and corporate events. I play for a lot of marriage proposals, which is become quite a trend.
Yeah, you were telling me about one the other day. What was that? There's a whole orchestra.
I had to contract a whole orchestra for somebody's proposal. It was very, very elaborate, but it was fun, in doing that sort of management aspect of things too.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoy the organizational, business end of things as well. And then I also teach, private lessons. I taught violin in public schools earlier this year, and I'll also do again the tune writing. I'll do transcription for hire, and recording sometimes on people's singles. So it's just anything and everything that's music.
The last
related.
two, of course, you were thinking specifically of me, because
yes, of course.
Transcription, the Don't Go Drinking with Hobbit songbook, and then recording on several of my pieces.
Yeah, and then sometimes on weekdays, if I have a free afternoon, I'll just go and go to Central Park or go to a subway platform and open up my case and play for a few hours.
You've done some busking out there?
I've done some busking, yeah, and it's fun. You meet some interesting people that way.
Do you do fairly well?
It depends on the time of day and time of week. I think Fridays are usually best, end of the week, and if you're outside, it doesn't hurt to have good weather. Farmers markets are great places to do that as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like I said, you find just lots of little kind of outside the box ways to build a whole career. You don't just do one thing.
The thing that's I don't know if I've ever asked you this or not, so I've been curious for a while is how you actually came across me in the first place, because I know you contacted me, and then I don't know if it was for the Hobbit CD or if it was other time. But
so I was trying to go down the memory hole and remember how did I first get to know Marc? And I was back in the misty dawn of social media when we all had MySpaces. Remember that?
My what?
And I think I just at the time I was getting used to this whole networking on the internet thing, and trying to reach out and make friends with just other musicians, other freelancers, and just kind of learn from people and, make friends and stuff like that. And saw this guy, Marc Gunn, who did, Celtic music. Okay, cool. Music about cats. Okay, really cool. So, yeah, I think I just reached out and friended you, and we just kind of, started talking and slowly collaborating. And then the very first time we actually met in person and played together was at the Vampire Ball for the Anne Rice Fan Club in 2009.
That sounds about right.
In New Orleans. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I think all of our successive in-person collaborations since then have mostly been ALEP stuff.
Been ALEP. Now you say you have done some Celtic music. What kind of what got you started with that? How long have you been in the Celtic or looking into the Celtic music world or playing music?
So I think I really got into Celtic music as a consumer of the genre, in my early teens, and I would kind of, casually noodle around with it, and no formal training in it, but just kind of, mimicking what I heard in recordings. And then once I was at Berkeley, I actually had a few instructors who were really prominent people in their field. Natalie Haas, who's a cellist who plays with Alistair Fraser a lot. Also, John McGann, who sadly passed away a few years ago, who's a great player of Irish mandolin music. I learned a lot of tunes from him.
Huh.
So, actually, most of my instruction in Celtic music was not from violin fiddle players, but it was just from people who knew the techniques and the tunes. So I just got really into playing it more and more, and especially in the wedding business, you've got people who have some Irish in their family, and they want that for their wedding. So I ended up playing that. I've done a CD of Celtic music that also mixed in some of my classical background. And
what was that called?
Celtic chamber music,
right.
Which was a collaboration between myself and Tim Maurice, who's a pianist. It's been a part of my life for a long time, and I love to play it. I love the sound of it. I love just the emotions that it evokes.
Are you Celtic heritage?
I have some Irish in me from my dad's side of the family. Gillogly is an Irish name.
Is it really?
It is, yes.
I would not have guessed that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. Okay. And it was probably spelled very different.
Probably, yeah.
I'm trying to think of how that would have been spelled.
All consonants.
Right. Okay. So now, one of the things that I'm always curious about is, have you done much traveling? And if you have, what places have inspired you the most? Name a place that has inspired you.
Oh gosh.
That you've been to.
Well, I think, I especially prior to moving to New York City, I did a lot of just very local traveling around the New England area for gigging, and, there's just so much beautiful landscape in New England that's
Is there a
inspiring.
particular place that you would recommend someone had to go see?
Had to go see? Go to Vermont. And Vermont is just stunning, and it's very... if you just really need to, escape somewhere that is very, I wouldn't say so much Shire-like, but, like you're up in the Misty Mountains, it feels like. Burlington, it's a beautiful college town, and it's just great for, a woodland kind of getaway. I've done a couple weddings up there. Internationally, I'd say probably my favorite place that I visited abroad was Cambridge, England.
Oh yeah.
I spent a month there at a study abroad course, studying Shakespeare.
Oh, fantastic.
So completely not music related, but
That's okay.
Just being in that kind of medieval university setting with all the cobblestone streets and cathedrals and stuff like that. So sadly I never made it to Tolkien's stomping grounds to Oxford, but I understand they have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
I think memories of that trip always kind of stayed with me as just being kind of like a very mystical, kind of otherworldly, escape, through.
That's Europe.
Another time. Yeah, that's Europe for you. It's just like, just going, back in time, several centuries, and yeah, so that was a really, really special place to visit.
So my final question that I want to ask you about is music. And if you have a musical recommendation that you would give to me or to someone, something that they should hear.
Sure. So I would say,
particularly an album, if you got a specific album.
Gosh, I don't have one specific album, but I would say, if you're really into, listening to more good Celtic fiddle music, probably one of the biggest influences on me has been Irish fiddler by the name of Martin Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably hands down my favorite Irish fiddle player. He's got a very it's hard to describe, but almost kind of a spiritual bent to his playing.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. It's very introverted and kind of meditative almost. He's just got a very unique expressive-ness to his playing that I think had a lot of influence on me. And actually, I was lucky enough to have a lesson with him once.
Yeah.
He really helped me kind of understand sort of the internal groove of playing Celtic rhythms. So anything by Martin Hayes
style.
is
There's
good stuff.
There's a specific feel. I've worked with some people who they can play the tunes, the melodies rather,
mm-hmm.
but they aren't playing the rhythm. They're not feeling it, which is one of the things that I find. And I can't say that I entirely have it either after so many years, but there's a certain rhythm. But I can recognize it now enough that I can say, okay, that's Irish music. That's as opposed to, I don't know, what maybe even classical or something maybe,
right.
where it's these are the notes, but this is not the rhythm. I feel like a good tune, you can make people dance with just a fiddle. Because you have this great rhythm that's there that you can feel.
Yeah, there's a pulse to it. There's a feeling to it that just is not there in the notes alone, and you really have to. It's got to speak through the instrument in a certain way.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. I find that intriguing, and one of these days I'll master this stuff. But
for now, doing pretty well.
For now, I have a podcast, and I can appreciate it. All right, so where can people find you online and buy your music?
You can find me on my website, which is www.samanthagillogly.com. I'm also on, let's see, how many of these I got? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. On Goodreads as well. I have a book.
Yeah, you have a book.
So, yeah,
that's good.
And you can buy my music on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby. I think I'm on Spotify now too. So
awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
And we'll keep hobbiting along.
Yes.
It's a hard Hobbit to break. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you did, then please support Samantha Gillogly. Subscribe to her mailing list and listen to her music and share it with your friends. Buy a CD. She's really awesome, so she deserves your support. You can head on over to SamanthaGillogly.com to find out more about her. And you can support my music and travels for as little as $1 per month when you join the Gun Runners Club over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast and my mailing list at KiltFather.com.